morning, everyone. My name is Thariyan, and I am a Business Insights Manager with Microsoft. Our team is spread across globally with people based out of Europe, in Americas, and here myself in Asia. And the core focus of my team is to enable the organization with analytics that support better decision making. In the next few minutes, what I'd like to do is structure my presentation in 3 parts. First, I'll take you through some of the data challenges that we faced while we went on this data journey. Second, on the approach we took to overcome those challenges. And thirdly, we'll apply this approach that we took, or the framework that we built, on a real business problem that we had. Before getting into the core, let me start off with a quote from Satya, which you can see there, which you can read for yourself. But what he fundamentally says is that a data-driven culture cannot be achieved just by introducing a fancy tool or a fancy new flashy report. It's all about fundamentally changing the culture, and a culture that thrives on data. So moving on, some of the challenges that we faced, I've listed 6 here, but these challenges wouldn't be alien to any of you in your organization as partners. You would be able to add even more. But starting with local solutions to global problems. The reality is that the data problem is a global problem. But oftentimes we apply siloed local kind of solutions or band-aid fixes to address the problem. And this might be okay in the short term, but this is not scalable, and it absolutely is not efficient. Then it's about the 2 things: no single source of truth and lack of data governance. So the reality is that too many data sources are available. In a massive company like Microsoft and some of your companies like Ripe, etc., there's too many data sources. Data is coming from all over the place without proper governance. There is no common taxonomy. There is no data definition. That is definitely a challenge. One-off generic training. So the reality of the world we live in is that we live in a cloud or a SaaS-based kind of a world, and there is no more big bang product launches now. Usually now there are incremental changes, overnight kind of launches, etc. And the one-off generic training that we get are usually not enough. That doesn't help us essentially at the point of need. Too many standalone tools. We are lucky to be working in Microsoft with access to so many tools and so many products. But absolutely, like what Chris was sharing earlier, this could get very confusing. We don't know when to use which product and at what time for what purpose. We get confused. Gut-based decision making was the last challenge that we had. So the decisions that oftentimes we make are based on assumptions and gut, rather than based on facts. Sometimes even data is manipulated to suit the individual or the situation. Having understood those challenges, what we did was we zeroed in on 5 factors, or we call them 5 pillars we considered for any work that we are involved in. Starting with optimizing process. Having clean data is absolutely critical. If we don't have, what happens is we end up with misleading information. So a streamlined process is critical. After that, it's about connecting the tools into solutions. So many tools that we have, but when do we use the right tool at the right time, so that we follow the process I spoke about earlier in an accurate manner, and the process is sustainable. Then customer obsession. This is a very important pillar. It is about the end user, keeping the customer at the center of it all. It could be internal customers, like our leadership team, or external stakeholders. What do they want to get out of the data? What is the insight that might help them in their journey, in the purpose that they want the data for? The learning and development pillar is also absolutely critical. What we realize quickly is that not everyone is at the same level when it comes to an understanding of data or how to use data. So we had to empower every people in the organization, that is Microsoft operations, we had to empower them to be confident in using data. That was absolutely critical. So we launched something called the BIM University, or the Business Insights Manager University, which is a 5-module course. It starts all the way from basics and goes up to advanced level training as well. Through all of this that you saw, what is the core? What is the fundamental? What is the backbone of all this? Back to the earlier slide that Satya was slide with a quote from Satya. It's all about a data-driven culture. So 2 years ago, we decided to walk the talk in Microsoft Operations by introducing the Business Insights Manager role as an example. There are many other roles, but this is what we did in Microsoft Business Operations. And this was born out of a need to fundamentally drive a cultural change around data. Moving on, here's an example of how we applied that 5-pillar framework to a real business problem that we have. The context is that at the end of the quarter, our leadership team, all the way up to Satya leadership, would want an update on the top deals that we are tracking, the pipeline of deals and how the deals track. This problem wouldn't be alien to any of you. It applies to any organization where you're tracking top deals. The challenges in a nutshell that we faced was there was no magic report or no silver bullet report that would give us end-to-end insights in real time. The other problem was there was too much data, and the data was all over the place, literally. Then oftentimes there was conflicting data and updates. Some people would send updates over email, over Messenger, over Teams, over Excel, SharePoint, whatnot. So it used to get confusing for the end recipient, who is a leader in this case. How we went about applying that is what I've listed that in the solution. I won't read through the slides, but quickly, the first step was to establish our internal Microsoft Dynamics 365 based CRM tool called MSX internally, that the sales teams used for deal updates as the center point. That was the single source of truth around which everything else was anchored. So Sindhura will go through that in a little bit more detail in the next segment. But after that, it was about appending that sales information with information from other live data sources. The live data sources could be data sources like the BPO, from sales, from operations, from marketing, etc. Last step was using the right tools to tell the story. Power BI was the center of it all, but it was neatly tagged on with other things like Microsoft Forms, Microsoft Sway, or PowerPoint, used in the right measure whenever it was needed. We also provided bite-sized training to our end users at the point of need, so that they could self-serve this information and avoid the bottlenecks that we had for manual tracking, etc. All this with a focus on customer centricity. In this case, the customer was our leadership team all the way up to Satya's leadership. What was the result of all that? The number one result of all that was trust. Finally, we had people trusting the data. The focus was back into data-driven decision making, not having to worry about misleading information. We also overcame the biggest pain that we had, which was avoiding errors due to manual entry. I'm sure you all would have faced such challenges in the past. Moving on, this is a slide that shows how it all came together. Anchored on the 5 pillars that I took you through earlier, we had Power BI as a centerpiece, nicely supported by the other tools that I've listed there, which you as a partner would be very much familiar with. We also had the BIM University to empower every person in the organization to be confident with data, and the impact that you see on the side was a result of all this. And at the bottom, we have some numbers that quantify the impact. To close off, I will share one last quote from Satya, which he made at the Q2 earning call, where he spoke about Power Platforms as a key differentiator for Microsoft. Power Platforms, as you might know, spans Power BI, Power Apps, and Flow. The killer feature of Power Platform is it is a no-code or a low-code app development platform. Note that none of us in this room representing Microsoft is a data scientist. But we all experience daily the cool possibilities that Microsoft Power Platform offers us. You can reach out to me. My email is on the slide if you want to learn more. And now it's over to Sindhura for another cool showcase. Thank you all and have a nice rest of the conference.